Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get-together live here on Facebook, where we try to be ready at 10:30 in the morning, every morning, Monday through Saturday, to share headlines from our city, our state, and our country with you, and combine those with all the questions, ideas, comments, and suggestions that you share with me so that we can all become better connected here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. And I say we try to be ready on time only because this morning you see, there are news that are not relevant to the broadcast, but that doesn't mean they're not interesting. And there are some mornings like today in which I get so easily distracted by other news. And this morning, 3 items just made me giggle like you have no idea. It has nothing to do with Puerto Vallarta, but if you are curious as to what makes me giggle in the mornings when I'm getting ready to prepare the broadcast, I will gladly share the news at the end of the broadcast if you write the word relevant on your comment. If you're not curious to know about what makes me giggle in the mornings when I'm preparing the broadcast, you will not hurt my feelings, and we can skip that idea altogether. But right now, it is Friday. It is Friday. Where cue the Friday song. There it is. It is Friday.
Thank God it's
August 5th. Another week has gone by, and it is a pleasure to get together with all of you. As always, we have juicy news, funny news, oh my God, you're all curious at what makes me giggle. Okay, I'll remember to do this. Just slap me if I'm starting to say goodbye and I forget, because sometimes I forget, but I will give you some hints. It has to do with masturbation, orgasms, and Jon Stewart. Oh dear. Anyhow. If this is your first time watching us live, oh my God, if this is your first time watching us live and you'd like to let us know, just write the word new in your comment. See, I'm making myself all teary up. Write the word new in your comment. We'll give you a nice little welcome. And if you have something truly important, what a tease, relevant. Well, you know what it is, Meredith. For better or worse, we try to keep the focus of Coffee and Headlines very specific, because we want to make sure that we focus on things that you might not be able to find anywhere else, or that are difficult to find. And I think that continues to be something that we will continue to do moving forward. But, you know, we don't live in a bubble. Well, some of us don't. And when you look at what's going on around the world, you know, when you add there's a lot of stuff out there. And sometimes I feel like, oh, I wish I could talk about this. Anyhow, later on. first, let us take care of our news as always, and boom, boom, bing, bum, 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 and we'll take it from there. How about that? Okay, enough of that. So we wouldn't be in Puerto Vallarta if things were not being constantly improved or repaired. And if you ask me, I think that is a good thing. Things break down in any city, and it is a good thing that our city officials, at the best of their ability, continue to improve things here, there, and everywhere. We once again have reports of the city doing improvements along streets around the city, including Coral Street in Colonia Santa Maria and many other streets, some in Colonias Palma Real, Loma Bonita, Joyas del Pedregal, and also in the surroundings of the Rio Cuale market. And this is all good news. The courts, the sport courts in Colonia La Aurora also got some TLC, the plaza in San Esteban, and the recreational area at Paso del Guayabo. If these are colonias that you've never heard of, well, it's just a reminder that we live in a large city where there are a lot of people. And sometimes, improvements are important, even if they're happening in areas that we don't frequent, because they're improvements that are good for everybody. But not everybody is happy. Apparently, Seapal opened up Pavo Real Street in Aralias. They installed new pipes. They covered their work with dirt and have yet to repave the street. So some neighbors living in that street are not very happy. Of course, from where I sit, I don't live in Aralias, so I cannot comment on the situation, but it is difficult to know if these things are a matter of the local administration not communicating as clearly what their schedules are, or maybe the folks living here, there, and everywhere need to be a little bit more understanding and take a chill pill. Maybe it's a combination of both. I don't have an answer, but ultimately, I think it's good that the city is doing all this repair work, and hopefully the people that are presently affected will find a communications channel to the city or a way to stay chill, or a cocktail, or I don't know, maybe some kind of medication. I couldn't tell you. And speaking of medication, Mexico's Secretary of Health has received 180,300 treatments or doses of a medication called Paxlovid, designed to counteract the symptoms of coronavirus. And this medication will be distributed free of charge among those folk who have COVID and that belong to a high-risk group, to prevent them from developing worse symptoms. How, where, and when anyone would be able to get a hold of this medication, if we fit that description, is a mystery, but I am sure that authorities will reveal further information as soon as it becomes available. Now, it is Friday. They say there's an ocean that we can all enjoy. The weather is fine, and swimming in the ocean sounds like a great way to counteract the heat, but not in Nuevo Nayarit, where the beach has been closed. There is no swimming in the ocean because of crocodile sightings. Now, I don't know if it is one crocodile. I don't know if it is many crocodiles. We don't know if the news sources are hyping the news or what, because they sometimes do that. We don't even know if it's one or many. But if you want to go swimming, you may want to go swimming in the ocean somewhere else, not in Nuevo Nayarit, because as I understand it, the beach is closed. And that's what we have for hard news. We will now move on to the weather as usual and take a look at other snippets of information that I want to share with you, including the ones that didn't make the cutting floor. Speak of the devil, Nancy Pelosi should have known better than to poke the bear, says snarky weather. The bear in this case being, of course, Winnie the Pooh. 28 degrees right now. Humidity is at 93. It's a scorcher. Feels like 34 degrees, and our temperature in Fahrenheit is 82. And our weather forecast for today says we're going to get rain and humidity. I hope it rains a bit. I hope it rains a lot because otherwise, when it's just a drizzle, if you combine rain and humidity, it's not fun. 31 is our high temperature for today, 25 is our low one. This is for today. Tomorrow, Saturday, rain and humidity throughout the day with a high of 31 and a low of 24. And then Sunday, we will have rain in the evening and overnight with a high of 32 and a low of 24. Boom. So here we are. Let me set up the next batch of news, starting with this has very little to do with us, but I might as well share it because it's been in the news. You might hear about this, but do you know that restaurant Sonora Grill? We have a couple of them here in town. Well, they are in deep doo doo, or at least their Polanco branch is in deep doo doo. For those of you that don't know, Polanco is a very affluent neighborhood in Mexico City, and the restaurant is in deep doo doo because some they were denounced in social media for discrimination. You see, according to the people that make the announcement or that denounce the restaurant goes out of its way to seat brown people in a different area than where they sit white people. And when I say white people in this context, I don't necessarily mean folks from north of the country. I mean Mexican white people. Of course, all this hearsay came to the attention of Mexico City's Council to Prevent and Eliminate Discrimination, or COPRED. And COPRED has opened a new file on the restaurant. And then came a former employee from Sonora Grill that announced in social media, well, it is true. When I was working as a waiter, we were instructed to sit the brown people away from the white people. Now, we don't know if this is true or not, but things have not been very fun for Sonora Grill in Polanco. It is interesting to see when you consider that Sonora Grill initiated their operation in 2004 with a humble taco restaurant in Mexico City with barely 5 tables. And of course, the memes are everywhere, all over the internet, commenting on this situation. So it's a PR nightmare. And why am I sharing this with you? Well, because on occasion, we have talked about class distinction and class discrimination in Mexico. And whenever I find an example of this taking place, I choose to bring it up to Coffee and Headlines just so that you can appreciate how class discrimination and race discrimination in Mexico, even within our population, is very, very real. Moving right along, the good news is this is not happening in the state of Jalisco, or at least not yet. The bad news is that there are some states in which inflation is hitting so hard, even tortilla manufacturers are adulterating the recipe and substituting ingredients to make a more affordable tortilla, which is a no-no. Tortilla is made with a very specific type of flour. And apparently, some folks that are trying to make things work out for them financially are substituting the type of flour they use to make tortillas. Hence, this term of pirate tortillas. So far, the tendency has been spotted in Durango, Coahuila, and Sinaloa, 3 northern states. So far this year, the price of 1 kilo of tortillas has increased by 6 pesos, which may seem like nothing to you and I, but it is enough to break the budget for a less able family. And there are many of those out there. The average price of a kilo of tortilla in Jalisco is around 22 pesos. So if you spot a price that is significantly lower, chances are that you have stumbled upon pirate tortillas. Should you taste them? I don't think so. but thank God this is not happening here, and it's unlikely to happen. The advice, of course, is buy your tortillas at reputable places. I usually buy mine at the supermarket, like at La Comer, where I seriously doubt they would fuck around with the uh, official recipe of tortillas. Anyhow, this is probably the last time we'll bring this up in a while because it's going to continue happening. But as we have mentioned a couple of times this week, crossing uh, the Rio Ameca River is going to be a zoo. For a few months, there is no coordination. Apparently, this latest news report tells us that the authorities are not giving drivers any kind of indication as to when the repairs are taking place or when they are not taking place. So it is not fun. So again, for the last time, because we got to find other things to talk about, if you plan on crossing over the bridge or bridges, if you go northbound and southbound on a regular basis between the state of Nayarit and Puerto Vallarta, be mindful of this fact and plan your timing accordingly. Before we get into the comment section, I wonder if Gary Green is in the house. Every year, Gary organizes this adventure in which you hop on a bus and you're not told where you're going, but you hop on a bus and there are 3 stops and there are drinks, and it is designed to escape the heat. And all of this mystery bus trip adventure is set to benefit the Amapas Neighborhood Association. It's 950 pesos per person, and apparently this is going to happen during the month of September. Space is limited. I've never been. I don't know that I would feel comfortable going unless I was traveling with a buddy, but the whole idea is that you get whisked away in this air-conditioned bus. There are cocktails, so if you're miserable with the people that are there, I suppose you can just cocktail your way until you've... Oh, Gary is in the house. Thank you, Gary. Is there anything you can tell us about this mystery adventure? I mean, I've never been. I get shy with people that I don't know, so it is one of those things that I don't know that I would do it. I would be scared. But if you want to let us know what it is, feel free to fill in some comments. I noticed the reservation address, and I'm going to share it with the comment, with the rest of the links in the show notes so that people can find out more about this wild adventure. And it leaves at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. So it's not a day trip, or is it a day trip? Do you go overnight? I mean, fill us in with your comments. And speaking of comments, I am going to now take a look at your comments, and then we will go into the things that made me giggle this morning. First of all, let's take a look. I see that there are a lot of good mornings. Raymond tells us that it is a vibrant Viernes in Versailles. That's a triple V. Is that kind of like a voluptuous Vestal Virgin, I suppose? See, I cannot pun like Raymond. Raymond is our king of puns. I would never attempt to pun like Raymond. Many, many good mornings, and those are very much appreciated. It's a nice day. It's a nice day. Okay, relevant. Let's see. Jill says, Hola Cluster, looking for a company to install a dipping pool in our garden. Any cluster recommendations? I love questions like these because even though I don't necessarily have answers for them, I am always confident that somebody will. Sage says, it's only 10:35 and it's already hot in here. Oh, Sage, it was hot in here at like 8:30 in the morning. Oh, but you and your husband are new to Puerto Vallarta. I'm sure you're going to love the weather. Let us find us a nice day pass and go hide in a hotel somewhere near a pool where there are no crocodiles, of course. Let's see. Purim pum pum, purum pum. There's a question here. Isn't Paxlovid the medicine that makes you recontract COVID 40% of the time? I don't know, Alan. I'm not a pharmacist, so I couldn't answer your question, but I sure hope that you can find that answer somewhere out there. Um, Gary says, I read about Sonora and I have been to the one in Vallarta and Polanco. I chuckled as we must have confused them because I am white and my friend darker brown. Maybe that's why they sat us in the middle. I love it. I love it. And then there are comments about the mystery bus. And Gary fills in some blanks. This is the 6th year that they've done this mystery bus outing. It sells out in a few minutes, and I can appreciate why. Unless you're the Partridge Family, there's only so many people you can pack in a bus. Gary says only 50 seats open. Lots of fun and fellowship. It sounds like it. From 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Gary, I wish you the best in this pursuit, and I congratulate you for finding creative ways to raise money. And that's something that we need so much, because there are so many charities in town. The fact that somebody comes up with a new and novel idea and doesn't do it frequently enough that it becomes ordinary is absolutely wonderful. There you go. Good point. Mateo Schubring, and I would love to add some context to this note. If they put Tenoch Huerta in the very brown section, Mateo would like to be seated in his section. For those of you that don't know, Tenoch Huerta is a very brown Mexican actor that has made headlines because he is very much about ending discrimination against very brown people in general and very brown actors in particular. And the good news is that Tenoch Huerta has just been cast in a brand new Marvel production. I forget if it's a movie or if it's a series, but this is very, very important news in Mexico. Tenoch Huerta, not only is he handsome and sexy and he could become my future ex-husband, but he is very, very talented. Let's see. Ba-di-ba-ba. Sage says, I was referring to your orgasm news. I'll get to that in just 1 second. In fact, I think I am there because I don't see any fresh comments. So things that made me giggle this morning, 3 specific news made me giggle this morning. Number 1, I read somewhere that astronauts in the space station are not allowed to masturbate. Yes, you cannot masturbate on the space station because one single cell of your junk floating around is enough to impregnate a female astronaut, they say. I suppose when there's no gravity, them little sperm decide to go wherever they feel like going, and they could just end up sneaking into a vagina, I suppose. I knew there's a reason why I did not want to be an astronaut, but I figured, how can you be hundreds of days in space without spanking the monkey is a mystery to me. So that was number 1. That made me laugh. And number 2, I saw another one about a woman who reached such an explosive orgasm in the United States. She had to be taken to the hospital and she almost lost her life. I did not click, but I figured, what kind of orgasm could anybody have that would make you almost have to go to the hospital? I have definitely not experienced one of those, although I can't complain about my... Anyhow, never mind. And of course, the third bit of news that I discovered this morning, well, there's this ongoing feud that has been going on between Jon Stewart and Fox News's poster boy, Tucker Carlson. And I didn't understand the gravity of this feud until I saw the original television interview in which Jon Stewart was the guest of some talk show that used to take place on CNN. I'm talking about over 10 years ago, and Tucker Carlson was one of the hosts, and they went at it like wild boars. It was just amazing. And now I understand why there's such a long standing feud between the two of them. And of course, none of this has anything to do with what we talk about here at Coffee and Headlines. But a thought did come to my mind. Here's a wish list for a drag queen show I would love to see in Puerto Vallarta or anywhere else. I mean, if you take the transcript of some of those iconic televised fights between people and you reenacted it by a bunch of actors, it doesn't have to be drag queens, but it could be drag queens, and you queerify it, I think it would make for a very entertaining show. I mean, take five iconic fights that took place on television, from Larry Springer to whatever, and this could happen in any country. And I think that would be something that would be very, very funny to watch. At least I think it would be funny to watch. And that is the end of the things that made me giggle. I'm a simpleton. Little simple things make me giggle. But that's what I was late for this morning. That's why I had to rush, because I was imagining all these things, and that's the end of that. So I don't see many new comments since we started rambling about things that have nothing to do with Puerto Vallarta. Oh, Gary, nice shot. Astronauts need to know before signing up, they need to know the gravity of the situation. I love it. Well, I'll tell you something. This is not completely related, but just as an FYI, I am my crocheting companion audiobook this week has been this amazing telling of the history of Area 51, and it was a New York Times bestseller. I forget the name of the author, but this has been my audiobook while I'm crocheting, and it is fascinating to learn so many things about what goes on in space, in the air, et cetera, et cetera. And this is it. This is our Coffee and Headlines for today. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow, which is our last broadcast of this week. I hope you'll stay kind and happy and smiling, and I hope you'll be in touch. Come back tomorrow. We'll be here.